Good morning, everyone. Uh, Please settle down. We are about to start our today's program. I would request all of you to please rise up for national anthem.
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Indore Management Association's 30th International Management Conclave 2023. Now, for the first business session today, I would like to call Ms. Trishla Jain, HR, Eagle Seeds and Biotech Limited. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the IMA International Conclave Day 2. I hope you had a great knowledge boost on the day 1, and the day 2 is to follow. Without much of delay, I would like the dignitaries to please escort Usha ma'am on the stage. May I now please request Mr. Subodh Srivastav, Team IMA, to please welcome Usha ma'am with flowers. तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरे खेतों में लहरावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू Dear friends, don't you think these lines from a famous song sound like a story of a seed? There's a famous quote, never underestimate the power of a planted seed. Seeds are a foundation of human life on this earth. Seeds are also a crux of agriculture. So today, at IMA Conclave, we have a speaker who is an agri-based research visionary and a philanthropist. One similarity between me and her is we both are daughters taking forward the agricultural family legacy. Representing a seed company myself, Eagle Seeds and Biotech Limited, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome Ms. Usha Barwale Zehr. I would request now the AV team to please play AV for Ms. Usha Barwale Zehr.
Dr. Usha Barwale Zehr. Dr. Usha Barwale Zehr is the Chief Technology Officer and a Director on the board of Myco Private Limited, India's pioneering hybrid seeds company. She also leads Grow Indigo Private Limited GIPL as Chairman and Executive Director. She is focused on promoting sustainable agriculture, including carbon farming. Currently, her focus is mainly on providing innovative solutions to the small farmers regarding genetic farming and biotechnology. Dr. Zehr is an alumnus of University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, USA, having completed her MS and PhD from the same university. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Usha Barwale Zehr.
I would now request Usha ma'am to please proceed with her address and enlighten the audience.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Trishla, for inviting me to be here today with you. And what a beautiful voice you have. Thank you so much for that. And the introduction is over the top, so I don't know what to say, but thank you very much for the kind words and having me here to talk a little bit about agriculture. What I understand is that at IMA, before, there's been no speaker in agriculture who has come to present here. So I hope that I can do a small bit of justice to what I share with you today. The topic which was given to me was India's quest for growth. And I think it's very, very apt when it comes to agriculture. Because when we look at agriculture, Indian agriculture is lifeblood of Indian economy with, I just want you to focus on 2-3 points on this slide, that 55% of the Indian population depends on agriculture. So anything we do, when we talk about growth, we can have growth, but it would always be disproportionate if agriculture is also not growing at the pace which it needs to grow. When we look also at the number of people who are engaged in farming directly, it's a very large number, so 119 million farm families. So I just wanted to leave this thought with you as to how important agriculture is when we talk about growth of India. Of course, we are seeing tremendous growth happening in infrastructure, and the recent budget also emphasizes again on investments in agriculture, or in infrastructure, but we need a similar push for agriculture to make sure that we have the requisite growth that is required. I'm not going to talk too much about the challenges in agriculture, but rather talk about the new solutions which are there. I put this picture here, which is a photograph of our a founder, our research director, and Dr. Norman Borlaug, who was conferred with the Nobel Peace Prize for saving 1 billion lives, 1+ billion lives, because of the varieties that he developed, which led to the Green Revolution in India. And if you look at the stamp closely, and you see 2 bars are there, an orange bar and the green bar. The green bar was the productivity of wheat before Green Revolution, and the orange bar is the productivity of wheat after Green Revolution. So single technology actually transformed the way Indian agriculture was at that point. You know, many described our existence. I see lots of young people, so they probably can't relate, but it's very important to remember that the world had written India off, saying that we lived on a ship-to-mouth existence, that if the ships of grain came to India, then there would be food to distribute. Lal Bahadur Shastri was the prime minister at that point of time, and I don't think before that nor after that anyone has ever requested every citizen in the country to give up 1 meal a week so that we have enough food to eat. So this is what the smallholder farmers have actually been able to do for us, where we are today a surplus nation. We have almost self-sufficiency in everything that we do. So on this backdrop, in terms of what it is that the smallholder farmers have done, so one thing that I didn't mention, but it was there on the slide, and it's very important to remember that majority of the farmers that we work with are what we call the smallholder farmers. So they are working land which is 1 acre or 2 acres, not big lands which some farmers have. So whatever we bring needs to be addressing their needs. The other thing about the conclave, which I thought was very, very apt, and particularly for agriculture, is the theme reinvent, evolve, and lead. So with the Green Revolution, we were able to meet our quantity targets. Did we have enough food grains to eat? The need was so high that the focus was only on productivity and not on sustainability. And I think this is where the reinvent really is appropriate, because we need to look at agriculture differently. We need to think about how do we do agriculture differently so that it's sustainable today, but more importantly, going forward for our children and grandchildren, that agriculture continues to provide the food grain requirements of the country. The other point that I think we need to really reinvent, and they all are connected to a certain extent because it's not one or the other, agriculture needs to focus on climate resilience. And what does it mean? You know, we've seen heat waves, we've seen floods, we have seen extreme weather patterns occurring more often than they were doing in the past. So how do we, in the seed industry, in the other input industries, continue to work to make sure that we are developing products which are resilient and are able to tolerate these fluctuations that we see? Many of you may have seen the net zero commitments of different corporations. Countries also, for that matter, Honorable Prime Minister at COP26 declared that India would become net zero by 2070. What exactly does net zero mean? You know, that we change our systems, so we evolve from our existing systems. And government is also taking initiatives, which I will talk about briefly, to show how India could actually lead in this effort with the smallholder farmer agriculture system. We also need to think about how we look at agriculture from a circular economy standpoint. The picture that I have here is from the website and from the climate report of a company called Danone. Danone is a milk, dairy, yogurt company, global company. So what they have said, and so have Nestle, Pepsi, you know, any large company that you think about, have said that they will change the way they do business to make sure that their carbon footprint is zero, number one, but not zero to today's level, zero going back to 2000, to 1995, to 2005, and so on and so forth. So how does one do that? And this is an illustration of how Danone is looking at their net zero journey, that you look at everything in the food value chain and say, what do I change in this value chain to reduce my carbon footprint? Now, carbon footprint is something, when I started working on carbon, I myself, being a biologist in a sense, didn't fully understand what this carbon business is, except for, of course, it's an element on the chemistry, on the periodical chart, you know, that it looks black maybe, or I can't see it, I can't feel it. You know, so what is this carbon business? And so agriculture actually is a contributor to what we call greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases, when we talk about the buses going on the roads, we say that there's so much dhua coming from the bus, so that is carbon dioxide, which is being emitted. And that is leading to the pollution that you see. But most importantly, it's also leading to the warming of the planet, and also has negative implications as far as agriculture is concerned. So similarly, there are two other gases in addition to carbon dioxide, one coming from fertilizer use, which is nitrous oxide, and another coming from the practices that we follow, such as flooding of the rice field, for instance, or sugarcane. Wherever we have standing water, methane gas is released, and all three of these gases are what are called as greenhouse gases coming from agriculture. Now, everyone will talk about agriculture as the contributor, so it's a problem. What I want to present to you today is that carbon is the new cash crop for the smallholder farmer. How would that happen? How would we look at it? So if we look at the left panel, where we say that greenhouse gases are coming from agriculture, but also by changing agriculture practices, we can reduce these greenhouse gases, which leads to, when quantified, leads to a generation of a carbon credit. So 1 ton of carbon dioxide is equivalent to 1 carbon. Too much technical information, I know, but just to get a sense of what is 1 carbon credit. So it's a digital certificate. The farmer would get a digital certificate saying that because they didn't do flooding in their field, they've generated 0.4 carbon credit. Because they didn't till their plot, you know, make it, take all the residue out of the plot, they've generated another 0.2 carbon credit, and so on. So which leads to this quantification and a digital certificate which comes in the name of the farmer. The carbon credit programs are also very interesting because they're like an annuity. So once the farmer registers in the program, they have the possibility of earning that credit for 20 years as long as they continue to follow sustainable agriculture practice. So this carbon credit at the moment trades for roughly $40 per credit. In the US market, at least in India, we have not sold any agriculture, smallholder, farmer carbon credits. So, but that would be the benchmark that we would of course look for. So once the credit is generated, who buys it? You know, who's going to buy that carbon credit? So I think about Air India, for instance. The only way Air India can reduce much of their carbon footprint is to park their airplane and not to fly. Now that clearly is not a business model that will work for them. So what they would be looking for is an offset carbon credit. And so the smallholder farmer carbon credits now can be purchased by, I just use an example of Air India, but it could be, of course, again, it could be Danone or Nestle and so on and so forth, food companies, petrochemical companies, companies sitting here who want to show that they are moving towards a carbon credit neutral or net zero goal, which is there. When this credit is purchased, that money flows back to the farmer. And so why carbon as a new crop? Because the carbon credit is being generated along with whatever crop the farmer is doing. So it's a parallel stream of income. It's not that they stop growing rice and carbon credit is generated, but they will grow rice in a more regenerative manner, and that would lead to the generation of carbon credit. So we have a program in Punjab and Haryana which is underway, where the farmers adopt these two practices, and if they do so, they will get 1 carbon credit per year per acre. So that would be the kind of income that becomes feasible. Now, how is this carbon credit quantified? Because it's very, very important. I don't know, some of you may have seen today, there was a report about the organic exports from India have declined by 39% because of the fraudulent certification which is taking place. So USDA has nullified the agreement which they had with APEDA. Now, carbon credit, we need to make sure that for the smallholder farmers to actually benefit is of the highest quality. And that highest quality is going to come because of application of technology, which nobody can question. And so on a packet of rice, which let's say a farmer who's participating in our program generates 2 kg of rice and wheat, the rough estimate is that they will reduce 500 grams of carbon dioxide. When I say carbon dioxide, it's all 3 gases that I mentioned. And that equals 58,000 LPG cylinders worth of fresh air. So my question to you would be, would you be willing to pay an extra rupee so that the farmer gets a premium for such sustainably grown rice? So again, you can't see it, you can't feel it, but it is doing a long-term positive impact for the country as a whole, and of course the farmers will have additional income. So our partner Indigo in the US put this balloon up, and this is what 1 ton of carbon dioxide or 1 carbon credit looks like. Now, to get a sense of how big this balloon is, look at the building in the back. So that is the amount of carbon dioxide which is removed or sequestered in the soil to give you 1 carbon credit. Now, of course, the regenerative agriculture practices also include biological products. And so how do you, and I'm not saying replacement, but this is additional to improve soil health, improve and offer options to the farmers for alternatives to chemical and synthetic inputs which go into agriculture. So I won't talk about the details of the biological products, but this also can feed into the carbon program because there is a possibility that you'll reduce nitrogen fertilizer application, and nitrous oxide is one of the larger greenhouse gases that comes out. So what is our quest? Our quest is that smallholders must participate in the growing economy that we are witnessing. Smallholder farmers at this moment, we feel, are being left behind. But what we want is that the smallholders to go on this journey of growth in a sustainable manner and then improve their livelihoods because of premium for decommoditized rice, let's say. So I am not selling basmati alone, but I'm now selling basmati which has come from a farm which has used 30% less water, has emitted 40% less greenhouse gases, and that is the environment benefit which all of us are willing to pay for. So improve livelihood. And the most important thing to me is that how all of this benefits the farmers, because if it doesn't benefit the farmers are not going to adopt it. So there must be a financial incentive for the farmers to actually adopt these kinds of technologies. And adoption of these technologies also does not lead to a reduction in income for the farmer. So that is a minimum requirement, that you will have no negative effect on the farmer's income or productivity. Society at large, of course, like I said, that any reduction we have in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is a win-win situation for all of us. And the environment, of course, is the long-term implications of such technologies. So the smallholder farmers are very well positioned to actually be a solution, a large-scale solution, which is cost-effective and scalable. So with that, I once again want to thank you and thank IMA for inviting me here. and giving me this platform to share some of our thoughts on agriculture and particularly on what new things are happening in agriculture. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your thoughts and for this nice presentation. Ma'am, this is for the first time I'm meeting you, and it has been such a learning experience for me. And the question which has come, the first question for you, it is very interesting. These days, women are working in every area and field. What was your experience working with a male dominated field of research scientists, spending hours in the sun and soil? So, how difficult was it for you to break this stereotype thinking, especially in India? And, how was your experience of breaking this barrier which we have in India?
It's a, it's a very challenging question because when I look at our company today also, depending on the activity, we have either women majority or men majority. So whenever it comes to field-related operations, it's mostly men. Because as a society, we don't want our daughters to go out in the field and get darker skin because they will be exposed in the sun and so forth. So I think that problem remains and continues. Now, Trishla, you mentioned one thing that we both are very privileged from the standpoint that our fathers started the company, and so we had the best possible, in some ways, opportunities to do whatever it is that we wanted. And so this is a problem that we continue to face. But when we look at agriculture as a whole, majority of the workers in agriculture are women. You know, the laborers are women, the men have gone off, migrated to other places. And so women continue to play a very important role, but we continue to see that we don't have as many women in field-related activities. We are seeing some change, but it's still not enough.
See, this question is very relevant because from yesterday, I'm seeing you have arrived yesterday. You completed 6 to 7 hour journey, I guess, from Jalna by car. And the moment you arrived here, and we had scheduled an R&D visit to our place, so you were so ready for it. And I'm so pleased to know that you gave full time on the field uh, in spite of that exhaustion and everything. So I think this is incredible, and all women should learn from it that it is very important to be hardworking and keep moving with time. So that is incredible, ma'am.
Thank you.
The second question which we have is, when will agriculture and farming become the main league professions like engineering and medical? We have this, we have this barrier, maybe say, or we have this perception that, these are main league professions. So, as your topic suggested, India's quest for the growth. So, when do you think agriculture, farming would become the main league professions? And we have some students also. So how can you motivate students to take agriculture, farming, research, and everything as, main profession and choose that as careers?
Yeah. So I think the number of factors which go into this kind of a, how do you bring about that excitement? And it starts from the top. So government policies in terms of how they position agriculture. Is there enough resources going into innovation and science at the government level? Then based on how technologies are being approved, move forward, there is opportunity for students to again undertake these activities. So this is very, very important. Like I said, agriculture, if we see the United States as an example, 2% of the population farms. Whereas in India, we are talking about 50+% of the population who farms. Now, how will agriculture change in the coming 5 decades, because agriculture change is not very rapid, you're going to see a slower, it's already happening. So we were 60% of the population was farming. Now we have come down to just around 50%. This will continue to happen. So innovation becomes the driver. And I would say to all the students who are sitting in the back, I think today agriculture is one area where there is so much need for data-driven innovation that, it's not just being out in the field. See, in any area, if you want to do well, you have to be out in the field. Whether it is a mobile company or whether it is an engineering company, you have to understand what the customer wants. And so there are a lot of opportunities in different areas. The areas I talked about, remote sensing. Now in agriculture, we didn't think about remote sensing before as a career opportunity, except for forest cover determination. But now it is a mainstream activity which is available. So a lot of technological advances, I think, are creating new opportunities for women in agriculture, which they definitely should pursue.
Okay. So I think students would be inspired by this and they'll think about and pursue courses in agriculture further. Ma'am, we have the last question with us. What is making people in cities leaving wheat and rice totally? These days people are leaving, rice. I'm off carbs. So what is the truth behind it? It is really logical because we've grown up eating rice and wheat. So suddenly leaving it totally, will it be of any use? And scientifically, how much of it is logical?
If we look at the Green Revolution, and I think that is where our consumption behavior was somewhat directed, is that there were two crops which drove Green Revolution, that was rice and wheat. And so what happened was a push at every single level, so whether it was at the central government, at the state government, to grow these improved rice and wheat varieties, which gave us what I mentioned also, quantity in terms of calories. So we were looking for, achieving that 2,000 or 1,800 calorie mark. With rice and wheat in abundance, we were able to achieve that. The problem to me today is not about people leaving rice and wheat, but problem is around nutritional security or nutritional deficiencies that we have. And one of the key elements there is that how do we diversify our diet? How do we diversify our diet so that we are eating different types of grains? We are eating different fruits and vegetables. If we look at our fruit and vegetable consumption, it continues to go up per capita. So I think these are the reasons. I mean, of course, the cities are always trendy and they can afford to leave rice and wheat. But it's not going to be very soon that you are going to see this trend happen in the rural areas, right? But the main driver that I still want to emphasize is that we need to focus on the nutritional security part of it, which means less wheat and less rice.
Correct. So I think that was a bit of information for the youngsters who are leaving wheat and rice for health reasons and all that. So I think that was the last question, Ms. Usha. And thank you so much. We are truly blessed having you here. And thank you so much for sharing your insights for the India's quest for growth. Thank you. I would just like to invite Mr. Sunil Satwani, Director, Symbiotic Pharma, to please present a memento to Usha ma'am. Please. Thank you so much, Usha ma'am. Please give a huge round of applause.